Hi, redid the base as well as the stick now on the gear linkage. This original design was for the centre, so when I went to the left hand side, the orientation of this was kind of the wrong way. It's bugging me a little bit. Plus then I realised this piece here, which you can see is square up to there, would get in the way with this bit swinging a little bit maybe too far that way. So I was losing a bit of range, so I thought, screw it all. I'll do a slightly bit of redesign on it. It looks rounder, looks nicer, looks a little bit more, just looks a little bit better. So redid this, made these a little bit, about 1 millimetre thicker on the side, give myself a little bit more clearance on the inside. Also backed off, it basically gave myself more clearance also in the back side here for the mounting bolt. So yeah, redid those. Got the high angle joint for that. The high angle joint will have an aluminium bar that will go down to here. So yes, it's one more step. But I've started to do the fuel tank. So if you can imagine the fuel tank itself as a cheese wedge, so it'll be joined from there to there with a single plate. It'll be the last thing that's done to it. I have actually started the inserts now. We have 2 low pressure pump inserts, one will be either side, one will be here, one will be here, one will be there. It's only on first stage op at the moment, so it's still lots of work to do on it. Technically, I didn't want to thin the side of the tank down so that all the connections missed as I pushed it into the, obviously I have a square frame there, and I wanted to push the outside of the fuel tank as far as close to the frame as I can, so it's within about 4 millimeters of the frame on both sides. Obviously if I stuck the jig fittings, if I also stuck the mil-spec connections outside, they'd hit as they came up, so I wanted basically to sink them into the side of the tank, which is why this thing's quite so deep. I've got to machine the hell out of this yet. This is only the first op. There'll be a row of 6mm bolts around there. There's also a 3mm O-ring groove. It's got to be cleaned up and stuff. But technically now I can bolt a 7-8mm thick aluminium plate into there. The O-ring will seal it, and then my low pressure pump will be clamped to a bracket, which will then be welded to that plate. So basically, if I ever need to service the low pressure pumps or the filters that will be on the end, then all I'll basically do is just drop them into the side and bolt them up, and I can just pull them out. There'll be a bag filter on the end. So pretty much I can service the pumps by getting them out of here. It'll be a little bit tricky, but if I won't have to pull the fuel tank out and everything, just to service the LP pumps. Let's do a quick appraisal of what happens in the tank. 2 low pressure pumps, one either side, ECU controlled, nice and simple. There's a lot of spirited driving, should we say. We'll just put a timer in the timer on the pumps to bring the second one on. Normally I'll probably just drive whichever one I pick. Spirited driving, the second one would come on. Also in a low fuel tank level, the second pump would come on. So these 2 pumps here will come outside of the tank just to make things easy routed. So jig fitting, come out with a -8, come round. They'll both come to one side of the tank. There'll be a recessed little panel here with a couple of more fittings. Those 2 fittings on the inside of the tank will then be welded aluminium tube that'll go into my swill pot. The swill pot will be sealed on the top with a vent. That'll be as tall as I can get it. So basically, both the low pressure pumps will pump outside of the tank, but actually will come back into the tank into a swill pot. Bottom of the swill pot obviously having two fittings coming out, welded to the outside of here, with yet again a couple of -8, maybe -10 fittings at the bottom. And then I'll suck out of that to my high pressure pumps. But pretty much we'll just have a vented but sealed, welded swirl pot inside the fuel tank. Somewhere up here we'll have another smaller, probably 3-inch diameter tube, slightly offset, that will stick forward of, if you can imagine. This is the side plane that will come out slightly and raise up just a small area on the passenger side. Just allow me to basically have a fuel sender, that I dip tube fuel sender that I can put vertically in and not have to lose any space. That'll be on the passenger side. So that's the fuel tank, the space. I've got to start making the sides now. Happy with how the LP recesses are in. I've got to do one more recess as well, which will probably be either here or the side. I haven't made my mind up exactly yet. I'll have to do some more CAD sims yet to see if it's see which is the best place to put it. But obviously I need to put a filler tube, so they have to come from here or from there. Not too sure exactly which is the best. Probably on the side, but I'm going to have to look. But wherever the tube comes out of the tank, yet again it'll be in the way of lifting it up into the chassis. So basically I'll do another billet thing, but obviously just don't need that thick, then I'll just do it about 1/2 inch, then wasted where it doesn't need it. So I can have a bolt-on filler tube with another O-ring groove that allows me to seal it, so I can push the tank in and then unbolt the dipstick. Sorry, the filler tube. It'll probably have to, because I think wherever it goes it's going to be low. It will probably have to have a vent tube coming off the top of the tank that'll go round to the filler tube. This is a rubber hose, because the filler tube is going to be slightly lower than the actual top of the tank. Wherever it goes, so we'll have to have a little separate vent to come to the actual filler itself. Yes, that's about it. I'll put just tack the floor in. Needs to be welded properly from underneath. On the center tube bar from underneath, I've just drilled some holes, so basically I can weld and fill those holes up once it's clamped, and then weld around the outside. Wondered whether to sink the actual the steel into the holes so it's flush, but then realised that I've got 1.5mm thick aluminium in front of it, so it'll be lifted up if it is. So I go from 1.5mm thick aluminium to 2mm steel to 2mm aluminium that's going to be underneath. There's an extra barrier for the fuel tank, obviously. So basically I have a 2mm thick aluminium sheet across. There'll be a gap with some foam strips. The tank will be clamped in as well, and then obviously there's the tank as well. So the tank's got more than just its own thickness, should we say, at the bottom. A bit more stone protection from the bottom, but basically it'll be covered up. So yeah, fuel tank. More thing. Still wait for the bearings to come, but yeah, it's sometimes when you deal with stuff in China, but they were ridiculously cheap. So then I can finish the pedals, or at least the clutch and brake. Okie doke. Speak to you later.